Hello and welcome to Manhattan Minutes, the most important minutes of your week. I'm Kyle Matthews.
And I'm Brett Frawley. Each week here on Manhattan Minutes, we'll look at some of the top news stories in the area.
Today, we'll check out how K-State's Ebony Theater is celebrating Black History Month and why this year is different than last year.
Also, reporter Jacob Hughes talked to one K-State forensic professor about how he is taking the knowledge he has learnt here to Alabama.
But first, the recent protests in Egypt came about in a very unusual way. Let's take a look with Manhattan Matters' own Kylie Nacarado as she explores the recent political rebellions in Egypt and what Facebook and Twitter had to do with it.
The social media revolution. This is what some people are calling the rebellion that took place in Egypt in a large part to these networking sites. That's right, sites like Facebook and Twitter. The Egyptian people used their internet and cell phones spreading the word about the anti-government protests. K-State professor and advocate of networking sites Sam Wangi says today's leader is social media.
In fact, I found it interesting when people were saying, look, what kind of a revolution do we have in Egypt and Tunisia? Who was the leader? Duh, it's social media.
Cairo native Wissam El-Shami says he was able to stay in the loop about his country's plan to protest by checking his friends' Facebook pages.
My friends starting posted on their walls saying that we're going to go out in the streets to protest on January 25th.
The Egyptian government responded by shutting down the web in an effort to silence the protesters. Social media strategist Stephen Boydock says that social media is a hard thing to kill.
I think that's one of those inevitable things. Regardless of whether you're trying to keep it out or not, it's going to happen.
With so many ways to stay connected, whether you're using a computer or a cell phone, it raises the question, is social media changing the way the world works? Professor Sam Wangi seems to think so.
Has it changed the world? Yes, it means that very quickly we can take an idea and very quickly help crystallize it and act on it. So social media helps in that networking and in the formation of political opinion, and then civic action follows. That's dangerous. Only if you're a dictator. For us, hallelujah. Yes.
For Manhattan Matters, I'm Kylie Nacarado.
The events in Egypt have sparked other protests against national governments. People in Bahrain, Libya and Yemen are also using social media to start revolutions of their own.
In recognition of Black History Month, each year K-State's Ebony Theater puts on a series of plays to celebrate our nation's African-American heritage. But this year, it almost didn't happen. Reporter Lauren Gokin tells us why.
The Ebony Theater, founded in 1977, is a showcase for works by African-American playwrights depicting the struggles of being African-American. Ebony Theater president Jennifer Lee said time constraints last year forced the company to not stage any productions. But this year, Lee said she found a surprising level of interest from people after choosing 2 shows to perform.
Had like 20 people show up at auditions, and it was unbelievable. Just all these eager, willing people who want to be a part of this.
Brokeology was written by K-State alum Nathan Jackson. Jackson's most recent play, titled When I Go to Die, was performed at the Lincoln Center Theater in New York. To Eric Brown, an actor in Brokeology, the alum's success provides hope for his own future.
You read the play, and you're automatically impressed, and you're like, wow, that's the work of somebody that did the same things that I'm doing now. Obviously, he was writing, and I'm acting. But still, he was in the same program, he dealt with the same professors.
Brown thinks the theater is important for students because it provides alternatives for students who don't make the theater department's main stage plays.
You know, there's not a lot of African-American actors here at K-State. I think that the number of African-American actors is increasing, but obviously, you know, it still needs to be more. The ones that did try out for just regular shows often weren't being cast because the directors were picking plays that fit the majority. They also needed something, you know, for other students to do, students that fall under different categories racially.
For Manhattan Matters, I'm Lauren Gokin.
Interested in seeing Brokeology? It will be playing at K-State's Purple Mask Theatre February 24th through the 26th. Tickets start at $6.
I might be giving one of those tickets. That sounds cool. Speech Unlimited is the name of K-State's forensics team. The team has won many awards over the last few years, and many credit the team's success to instructor Bobby Embody. However, Embody is now taking what he learned while here at K-State to pursue a different job in Alabama. Let's listen in.
My name is Bobby Embody, and I am an instructor and the Assistant Director of Individual Events at Kansas State University, and I've been here in the Communication Studies Department since the fall of 2002. As a graduate student in Nebraska, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do just yet. I was getting married that summer, and I wanted something my future wife could go do. And I got to know Craig Brown. He said there was an opening for an assistant job, and that my wife could be a graduate student, and I was like, well, hey, that sounds great to me. Let's go do that. Early on, certainly, coaching was far more important to me. I put a lot more time into that than I did teaching, and I think in the last several years, I've developed a good balance for myself in terms of the time I put into both is pretty equal these days, if not more so for the teaching side. And outside of the classroom with the forensics team, I've had the extraordinary experience to get to work with some of the best students that K-State has had to offer in the past 9 years. We've had students from every major across campus, it seems like, and the fact that K-State was so great made it hard for me to want to leave. So I became pretty just kind of happy to be where I was, so I didn't think about it a whole lot. When this Alabama thing came up, it was one of those where I was like, well, I guess I'll apply. We'll see what it looks like. And then when I got to campus and I interviewed and talked with them about what they were doing and how they wanted to do things in the future, I thought to myself, you know, this is going to be, I think this is the time. If I'm going to do it, now's the time to do it. So it was kind of one of those moments where you don't really think about it a whole lot, but then once it presents itself, you decide, you know what, this is where I should be.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Be sure to check out Manhattan Matters on TV for plenty more Manhattan news.
And you can watch the broadcast on cable channel 8 and check out our Manhattan Matters Facebook page for the times we were on air. Well, with that, I'm Kyle Matthews.
And I'm Brett Frawley. This has been Manhattan Minutes.
We're good.
Ready in 5, 4.
Tickets start at $6.
That's pretty cool. Don't know what I'm going to say next. But.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. Is this thing flying back here?
Go.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
And why this year is different than last year.
Also, reporter Jacob Hughes talks to one of our K-State forensics professors about how he's taken knowledge he has learned here to Alabama.
But first, the recent protests in Egypt came about in a very unusual way. Let's take a look with Manhattan Matters' own Kylie Nakarado as she explores the recent political rebellions in Egypt.